We face a crisis unlike any other. To overcome it, we must unite.
So the fight continues to resolve the COVID-19 crisis. And even as those efforts continue, a group of world leaders are coming together to try to stop any future pandemic. More than 20 of them are calling for an international pandemic treaty.
The world cannot afford to wait until the pandemic is over to start planning for the next one. We must not allow the memories of this crisis to fade and go back to business as usual.
It has taught us one brutal lesson. No country, no continent can defeat a pandemic alone. It requires a global approach, the us rather than the me, and a collective commitment at the highest political level. The next pandemic is not a question of if, but when. So we must be ready, and we have no time to waste.
If you want to get back to your favorite places and feel confident they have put your health and safety first,
look for the Well Health Safety Seal.
Look for the Well Health Safety Seal.
Look for the Well Health Safety Seal.
You'll see it at schools, offices, banks, childcare centers, all the places we go.
The Well Health Safety Seal means that we'll feel better going into restaurants,
theaters, stores, hotels,
stadiums, and all the places that we love.
So look for the Well Health Safety Seal outside
and feel more confident going inside.
It's a rating, it's the Well Health and Safety rating that shows the aspects of a workplace environment in response to COVID that is both healthy and safe to returning tenants.
Our tenants are able to essentially leave their vehicle in the parking lot and get into their space without touching a surface. We want to make sure that our tenants feel safe coming back to the office. We feel confident in what we've done at this building and across the commercial buildings in Chicago.
Normal temperature, normal temperature.
Chair Paul, I'd like to probe a little bit deeper on central bank digital currencies, and in particular, the need for a secure digital ID for participants. One of the things the coronavirus laid bare is the lack of simply a list of citizens of the U.S. and in our ability to rapidly distribute funds, particularly to the underbanked. A high quality and universal digital ID in the U.S. would have made that immeasurably easier, as well as everything from, vaccine certificates or you name it.
But I think that there are many more people, millions of people, who, for whatever reason, have concerns about the vaccine, who just don't know what's in it for them. And we need to make it clear to them that the vaccine is the ticket back to pre-pandemic life. And the window to do that is really narrowing. I mean, you were mentioning, Chris, about how all these states are reopening. They're reopening at 100%. And we have a very narrow window to tie reopening policy to vaccination status.
The reason to go and get vaccinated is that we are now launching the Green Passport Plan. Whoever has been vaccinated will be able to go and enjoy the theatre, the cinema, sports events, flights abroad, restaurants and more.
Back here in Europe, EU leaders have agreed to develop a COVID-19 vaccine passport that could ease border crossings and allow people more freedom to travel again.
The Biden administration working on a system for people to prove they've been vaccinated against coronavirus. The Vax Pass, or vaccine passport, could be used by people at work, in school, or traveling abroad.
The nation's first vaccine passport launched over the weekend. New York State is behind the initiative. The app-based digital certification is called the Excelsior Pass.
The first of its kind app will serve as almost a COVID passport for anyone to use at major sports and entertainment venues. It will authenticate someone's vaccination or show proof of a recent negative COVID test.
Introducing Daily Pass, your exclusive ticket for safely going back to school. Each week, you can schedule your free on-campus COVID test, but the real magic is your daily health check. Just answer a few simple health questions every day, and like magic, your entrance ticket appears.
Welcome back.
And we have a very narrow window to tie reopening policy to vaccination status. Because otherwise, if everything is reopened, then what's the carrot going to be? How are we going to incentivize people to actually get the vaccine? So that's why I think the CDC and the Biden administration needs to come out a lot bolder and say, if you're vaccinated, you can do all these things. Here are all these freedoms that you have.
Are you saying that vaccines are mandatory in Israel right now?
Vaccines are not mandatory in Israel. However, this COVID-19 shot is, well, it's just short of it. Meaning they say that it's not a have to and it's not a force, but the reality on the ground is people are losing their jobs if they're in the health, if they're doing any sort of health professional. There are many different places where people are told that you vaccinate or you're out.
You're looking at Rome, Italy, where the government is now mandating all healthcare workers receive a COVID-19 vaccine. Joining us with all the details this morning. Good morning, Megan. Let's talk about why the government has brought in this order over a year into the pandemic.
Well, it's brought in the order because of the reluctance and resistance of up to 15% of healthcare workers and long-term care facility workers and some hospitals and care facilities throughout Italy who are extremely reluctant to get their shot of the COVID vaccination.
This morning, New York City waitress Bonnie Jacobson speaking out days after losing her job.
The events of the last few days, it's been a roller coaster.
The 34-year-old says she was fired after telling her employer she and her husband are considering starting a family, and she had hesitations about getting the COVID-19 vaccine. The restaurant, Red Hook Tavern, sent out an email requiring all staff to get vaccinated now that they're eligible in New York. When she pushed back, she says she received an email terminating her employment.
Each day, Alex packs a clean uniform, ready to take to work. But soon, there'll be something else he'll have to carry with him. His care company wants all staff to have immunity, so they've given him 1 month to take a vaccine or lose his vocation. If you're someone who's chosen not to have the vaccine, from the 23rd of April, no one will be rostered for shifts unless they're exempted.
When we know that these individuals are at risk to our vulnerable residents, we've got to make a choice. Alex, for example, he chooses not to have the vaccination, which is his right, but we choose to say we find that exponential risk unacceptable.
We've been through a lot this past year, and with more and more people getting vaccinated each day, we are starting to turn a corner. And as more Americans are vaccinated, a growing body of evidence now tells us that there are some activities that fully vaccinated people can resume at low risk to themselves.
The CDC issued new guidance Monday. Fully vaccinated people can spend time together indoors in private settings without masks or social distancing.
The Miami Heat paving the way again for at least the short-term future of large events. The team is setting aside a part of the arena only for vaccinated fans. Starting with next Thursday's game, 2 sections will be reserved for people who can prove they've been fully vaccinated.
Well, I'll tell you, a lot of folks said that they thought that this change in the CDC guidelines would encourage more people to book travel, but it might also encourage a lot more people to book a COVID vaccine. Some folks say that maybe that is the incentive that some folks with hesitancy were looking for.
Israelis refusing to get a coronavirus jab may soon find their names being given to the authorities. At least that's what the Israeli Prime Minister has suggested, raising concerns over possible privacy violations and discrimination.
As Spain marks a grim milestone of 50,000 deaths from the coronavirus, the government has announced new measures. It plans to create a registry to track those who refuse to be vaccinated. Officials say data from the registry won't be made public, but it will be shared with other EU member states.
Now, the proposal to share the names of unvaccinated people with authorities has raised concerns, understandably over privacy violations and possible discrimination. It's been met with a mixed reaction among Israelis.
I think that the idea of a green passport is nothing short of a medical apartheid. We've seen what making an entire second-class citizenry is done in devastated countries, and we're doing it based on literally non-existing science.
This is literally the end of human liberty in the West if this plan unfolds as planned. Vaccine passport sounds like a fine thing if you don't understand what those platforms can do. I'm CEO of a tech company. I understand what this platform does. It's not about the vaccine. It's not about the virus. It's about your data. And once this rolls out, you don't have a choice about being part of the system.
But what we see here in New York City and other cities around the U.S. is a movement to expand a very different technology, a type of vaccine passport that wouldn't be used when you fly internationally, but used when you go to work, go to school, even go to the local grocery store. And from my perspective, as a civil rights lawyer, as a technologist, this is really disturbing.
But what they have done is they have essentially overnight created a second-class citizenry, a true medical apartheid that is disallowing healthy, law-abiding, tax-paying citizens from entering their places of culture if they do not participate in this experiment. It's that simple. We've been told there are people who've been kicked out of their choirs, out of their pools, out of their gyms.
What people have to understand is that any other functionality can be loaded onto that platform with no problem at all. And what that means is it can be merged with your PayPal account, with your digital currency. Microsoft is already talking about merging it with payment plans. Your networks can be sucked up. It geolocates you everywhere you go. Your credit history can be included. All of your medical history can be included.
And I am so worried that this vaccine passport drive will transform medical segregation into digital segregation in nearly every public space. We're talking about something that could exclude millions of people from the necessities of basic life and compound the injustices that have defined our healthcare response to this entire pandemic.
The divisions are so extreme, are so unreasonable. And I think that even people who have signed up and taken this injection are starting to see that.
I cannot stress enough that it has the power to turn off your life or to turn on your life, to let you engage in society or be marginalized. And by the way, the last thing I'll say, IBM has a horrible history with Nazi Germany. Its subsidiary created a kind of precursor of this with punch cards that allowed the Nazis to keep lists of, again, a two-tiered society, Aryan and Jew, in such a way that they could round up Jews, round up dissidents, round up opposition leaders very, very quickly. It's catastrophic. It cannot be allowed to continue.
One of the more sure signs that the blast of winter is just before us is the ever-changing colors of the autumn leaves. As the leaves wither and die under the fading sun, a gust of wind casts them to their final resting place. Faithfully and often imperceptibly, the first signs of the impending storm approaches. How few are prepared when the storm in all its fury bursts upon them. As in the natural, so in the spiritual. Jesus, when speaking to the Pharisees who desired a sign from him, said, "When it is evening, ye say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. Ye can discern the face of the sky, but can ye not discern the signs of the times?" As we are thrust from one monumentous event to another, the words of Christ echoes with distinction down through the ages to our day. When ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. In the last great conflict, those who are loyal to God will see every earthly support cut off. They will be forbidden to buy or sell, save he that had the mark of the beast. In the soon coming conflict, we shall see the words exemplified. The dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. The question is, are you ready? Have you yielded and surrendered your heart to the Lord and made your calling and election sure? Only those who have found refuge in Christ will find shelter in the coming storm. The Bible says, "Today, if you will hear his voice, harden not your hearts." The day will come when the door of mercy will be shut forever, when mercy will cease to plead on the behalf of sinners. Too late will they desire to give their lives to Christ. Too late they will hear the fearful words, "Depart from me, ye that work iniquity." But today, while mercy still lingers, the Lord is pleading with you and I to give our lives to Christ so that we may find shelter under his wings. The day is far spent, the night is at hand, time is almost finished, and our salvation is nearer than when we believed. For more information on the topics discussed in this video, please visit our website at www.prophesy.again.org.